Many men grow up with a belief that feels almost automatic. If you want love, you have to chase it. No one really teaches them this directly, but everything around them quietly suggests it. Movies, social media, old advice, all of it makes them think that if they don't take the lead and pursue, they'll lose their chance. They begin to misunderstand what effort really means. In their minds, effort becomes constant presence, proving their value through non-stop attention. Text first, check in more often, always be the one keeping the conversation alive. They believe this will make them more valuable in the other person's eyes. And then they fall into a familiar loop. Each day starts by checking their phone. A message is sent, and then they wait. If there's no immediate reply, the mind starts to spiral. Did I say something wrong? Is she losing interest? These questions repeat over and over until they become exhausting. The longer they wait, the more unsettled they become. Even a small silence feels heavy enough to pull their thoughts too far. They're no longer living their own life, but reacting to someone else's. Every emotional high and low depends on a small screen, and that's when they begin to lose themselves without even realizing it. The danger isn't in caring about someone. It's in trading your inner balance for their attention. When a man pours all his energy into chasing, he sends a clear signal without meaning to. He needs. And that need doesn't create attraction, it creates pressure. The essence of attraction isn't about how hard you try. It's about the state you're in. When you act from a place of lack, everything you do carries a sense of force. Others may not say it out loud, but they can feel it. And that feeling makes them step back. On the other hand, a man who understands the Stoic mindset sees things differently. He doesn't deny his emotions, but he doesn't let them control his actions. He understands that not everything he wants needs to be chased. Some things lose their value the more you force them. Instead of pouring all his attention into one person, he turns back to his own life. His work, his health, his other relationships, his personal goals. He starts building a solid foundation where happiness doesn't depend on any one person. This doesn't make him cold. It makes him clear. When he cares about someone, it's a choice, not a need. He doesn't have to prove anything, and he doesn't try to keep anyone at all costs. And this lack of force creates a very different kind of energy. When a man stops chasing, he begins to move at his own pace. He doesn't rush to reply, not as a tactic, but because he has a life to prioritize. This busyness isn't fake. It's the result of being focused on himself. Over time, his presence becomes lighter, yet more defined. There's no urgency, no clinging. Everything unfolds naturally when it's meant to, or not at all. And this creates a sense of ease for both sides, instead of the silent pressure from before. Others begin to notice the difference, not through his words, but through the way he responds to everything. No panic when ignored, no overexcitement when given attention. A steady state, hard to read, but never distant. And that is what creates curiosity. That curiosity doesn't come from what he does. It comes from what he doesn't do. He doesn't try to impress, doesn't try to maintain connection at all costs. He simply exists, fully, in his own life. And that makes others wonder about him even more. When a man reaches this state, he no longer needs to chase to be noticed. Attraction starts to come from within, from the way he lives, the way he maintains balance, without trying too hard, yet still creating a pull that's hard to explain. In the end, what changes isn't the strategy, but the perspective. Love is no longer something to win, but something that happens when two people are already whole. And once you stop chasing, you realize what truly has value never needs to be chased. There's always noise around you. Messages, notifications, social media, endless conversations. Everyone is talking, showing, trying to be seen. In a world like this, the rarest thing isn't excitement, it's stability. Many people don't realize they are reacting almost all the time. A message makes them happy, a delayed reply makes them uneasy. A compliment boosts their confidence, silence makes them doubt themselves. Their emotions are pulled around by the smallest things. They get used to seeking validation from the outside. A glance, a like, a positive response. These become their main source of energy, and when it disappears, they feel empty. And that makes them more fragile than they think. In relationships, this becomes even more obvious. When they receive attention, they react strongly. When they don't, they start to worry. They can't stay still in uncertainty. So they act quickly just to fill the emotional gap. In contrast, a man who controls his emotions isn't pulled around by these small shifts. He doesn't let a message decide his mood. He doesn't turn someone else's silence into his own problem. When there's no response, he doesn't rush to assume. He understands that not everything is about him. Other people have their own lives, their own issues, and a delay doesn't always carry a negative meaning. The difference lies in how he responds. Instead of reacting immediately, he observes. He gives himself time to understand the situation, and that keeps him from making impulsive decisions he might regret later. He also doesn't try too hard to be liked. No need to talk too much, no need to constantly prove himself. He understands that value isn't about how much you show. It's about how well you stay steady in every situation. Many people think attraction comes from strength and constant initiative. But in reality, what creates lasting attraction is consistency. When someone remains stable, others feel safe around them. This consistency isn't about maintaining an image. It comes from truly understanding yourself. When you're no longer led by emotions, you don't have to force yourself to be someone else. You just become yourself in a more grounded state. This creates a feeling that's hard to explain for the other person. There's no drama, yet it's not boring. There's no rush, yet it doesn't feel distant. A balanced presence that makes them want to know more. In a world where everyone reacts quickly, the one who slows down stands out. Not because he tries to be different, but because he isn't carried by the crowd. And that's what makes him a rare point of stillness in the chaos. This kind of rarity doesn't need promotion. It shows through the way he lives, the way he responds, the way he stays calm when everything around him becomes unstable. Others notice it, even if no one says it out loud. When you're not easily affected, you become unpredictable. And when you're unpredictable, you become interesting. Not in a manipulative way, but in a way that makes others want to understand you more, because they can't read you easily. In the end, emotional stability isn't just an advantage. It's a form of power. Quiet, not flashy, but deeply influential. And in a world where everything keeps changing, the one who stays grounded is always the most attractive. The more you try to hold on to someone, the more you feel them slipping away. This isn't because you're not good enough, but because of how you approach it. When you put too much pressure on a relationship, you turn it into something that has to be maintained by effort instead of letting it unfold naturally. Many people believe that if they try harder, show more, care more, they will be reciprocated. But reality often works the opposite way. When you constantly try to impress, you begin to lose your natural self. Every action becomes intentional, and the other person can feel it. When you're no longer being yourself, you're trying to become a version you think others want. But the problem is, you can't sustain that for long. The strain will eventually show, and when it does, the initial attraction fades with it. A man who doesn't chase doesn't mean he doesn't care. He still has emotions, still gives attention, but he doesn't put his entire self into one person. He understands that his value doesn't depend on whether someone chooses him or not. He knows how to give without losing himself. When he cares, it's a conscious choice, not a reaction from lack. He doesn't need to prove he's worthy because he already knows he is. The biggest difference is that he doesn't cling. He doesn't need to keep someone at all costs. If someone leaves, he accepts it. Not because he doesn't feel pain, but because he doesn't lose himself in the process. He is present in the relationship, but not dependent on it. He has his own life, his own goals, things that keep him focused and engaged. This makes his presence valuable because it's not always available. When someone isn't easy to fully possess, they become more unpredictable. And that unpredictability creates space. Not a negative distance, but a space for the other person to think, feel, and question. That space is important. When everything is too easy, people tend to take it for granted. But when there is space, they begin to feel your presence more clearly. They start to miss, to wonder, to care more. Attraction doesn't grow under pressure. When you constantly show up and demand responses, you make the other person feel controlled. And when people feel controlled, their natural reaction is to pull away. On the other hand, when you let things unfold naturally, without force, the other person has a choice. And when they have a choice, they feel more comfortable moving closer to you. Not because they are pulled in, but because they want to. A man who stands firm in his own life doesn't need to chase anyone. He doesn't need to prove he's good enough. He simply lives by his values, and that alone creates attraction without effort. When you stop trying to hold on, you become lighter. No more anxiety about losing, no more tension from trying to maintain. This makes you easier to be around, and others can feel that. Over time, you'll realize something simple. The right person won't need to be held onto. They will stay because they want to. And at that point, the relationship is no longer one-sided effort, but a mutual choice. In the end, the one who doesn't chase isn't someone without emotions. It's someone who understands their own value. When you remain whole, you don't need to chase to be chosen. The way you live is what makes you the one who gets chosen.